But I tell everybody this oddly. I tell everyone this. One day, your body's going to call on you to pull yourself out of a burning car, or it's going to call on you to pull your wife out, your daughter out, your son out, a stranger out of a burning car, or out of a building, or run away from danger. And are you going to say to yourself, "Well, maybe I'll train tomorrow. Maybe I'll start tomorrow." It's too late. So that's why I say comfort wants you dead, and it's easy to be comfortable, but you have to choose your hard, dude. It's hard to be older like I am and overweight, out of shape, but it's also hard to work out, right? It's hard to
Mm,
struggle paycheck to paycheck. It's also hard to save a little bit of money. You have to choose what's your hard, because everything's hard in life, right?
love
So
that.
you got to keep grinding and you got to keep after it.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to empower you as our listeners to live their best audacious lives ever. I totally appreciate you joining us on the podcast today and investing your time in this journey of personal growth and resilience. Now, just as a tree grows stronger and more resilient as it weathers storms and faces challenges, so too do we as individuals. Leadership and personal growth are like branches reaching towards the sun, always striving for new heights and embracing failures as learning opportunities, like the tree shedding old leaves to make way for new growth. Our guest today is Lloyd Hawkins. He's a professional consultant and executive coach with a wealth of experience in leadership and personal development. His journey from a challenging upbringing to a successful career is both inspiring and informative. Lloyd's insights on leadership, resilience, and personal growth make him the perfect fit for today's episode. His experiences and lessons learned offer valuable guidance for our listeners on their own audacious living journey. So now that we've got y'all set and we've got the table prepared, let's invite Lloyd in to our conversation. Enjoy. Hey, Lloyd, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, my friend.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, the opportunity to engage in conversations that have that can make a difference in the lives of others, and we very much believe on this podcast and power of story sharing, right, and storytelling and sharing of our stories, and the one thing that's never been lost on me is the fact that there's profound impact in just hearing the stories experience of others, particularly those of that've gone through some periods of challenge, adversity, perseverance, demonstrate resiliency in some fashion. So I certainly want to give you an opportunity to do that, because we all have a story, and you had a humble upbringing that challenged you early on and enabled you to establish a bit of grit, if you will, and you made the most of it. So perhaps let me open up the floor here and give you a chance to share your story with our audience.
Sure, Audley. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for the opportunity to share that, because I do think everything you just said is very, very important. I mean, one of these things I see that people struggle with today is the lack of grit and the lack of perseverance. And the question really is, well, how do you even build that, right? So I did it organically through my life. I grew up very, very poor, single mother, multiple marriages. Most people share rooms with their siblings. I never had not only a room to sleep in, most times I never had a bed to sleep in. I slept on a couch
Mm.
most of my life in a trailer. What's that mean? Let's not cry for Lloyd, but the fact of the matter is that kind of started the resiliency building process. And I joined the military when I was 18 years old, long time ago,
Mhm.
just to escape poverty, dude. I know that we have a lot of people join the military out of patriotism, and I love that. Mine was an escape from poverty. So when somebody says, "Hey, thank you for your service," it's kind of like, I did it for me, but you're welcome. But
Appreciate the honesty.
well, dude, it's always uncomfortable to hear that, but going through life and having these challenges, it made me realize that that you could share these with other people, specifically other men, because while I'm all for equal rights, I think men have a specific place in our our society that's being eroded and degraded and actually demonized a little bit. And I think it's just more important for us to you come together as a tribe of men and really, really help each other build grit, build resiliency, and how to overcome obstacles. Because at the end of the day, that's what we impart to our sons, dude. And our
Mm-hmm.
daughters, but more importantly to our sons.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you really build grit, build resiliency? You do that by incrementally making yourself uncomfortable, whether it's learning to play guitar or running a marathon, lifting weights, whatever it is. Men have a physical response to our environment.
Right.
And in order to grow that physical response, you got to do it incrementally. So I always tell everybody, challenge yourself because comfort wants you dead. Comfort is where dreams go to die. So
Sure.
luckily I was able to do that. So through my military career, and it really, really helped me in my civilian career as well.
Thanks for sharing. Where I'm always curious, when individuals, especially when they have challenging upbringings, and they figure it out and are able to sort of take their adversity and use it as fuel. What was a trigger to make you realize that? That's a piece always curious to me. Like, was there something, one particular thing, or was it a series of events? What was it for you?
So, dude, I quit high school in my second month of my 11th grade year,
Okay.
and I live in Tallahassee, Florida, very, very, poor place to live. It's not, I mean, it's not destitute, but it's not affluent either. And so I started looking for a job. Single mom, she had no advice for me other than you can't stay here sitting on your tail. You're gonna get out of work. So I look for jobs with no skill set. And I finally found a job as a cabinet maker and was doing that for a few months. And I just came to the conclusion I can't do this any longer. So I always wanted to be in the military. So I decided to join the army. And and then it was just a place where I could flourish. They have
Sure.
task conditions and standards. And if you meet those, then you will do well. And I was able to exceed expectations there. Frankly, oddly, I went my first day of basic training. We got there late, so I had to wait for the next day to start my training. But they took us to the mess hall, the cafeteria, if you will, and they had like Coke machines lined up where you get all the Coca-Cola you wanted, all the food you wanted.
Yeah.
I grew up almost on a starvation mode. I was like, holy cow, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Heaven. It's heaven.
And I got in that position, but I said when I was trying to find a job as a 18-year-old, uneducated young man, walking door to door, knocking on establishments, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I had to make that drastic change, and looking back, it's one of the best things I ever did in my life.
It certainly sounds that way. You talked about the hazards of comfort and what the negative repercussions that can have on you. I wonder if you could just expand on that a little bit more, because I think for a lot of people, they're sitting in that comfort place and not even fully aware. They're just you're sticking to what you know, what you're comfortable with, and life is good as far as you're concerned.
Dude, it's easy to be lazy. Very, very easy to be lazy. Matter of fact, it's our nature to be lazy. But I tell everybody this, oddly. I tell everyone this. One day, your body's gonna call on you to pull yourself out of a burning car, or it's gonna call on you to pull your wife out, your daughter out, your son out, a stranger out of a burning car, or out of a building, or run away from danger. And are you gonna say to yourself, "Well, maybe I'll train tomorrow. Maybe I'll start tomorrow." It's too late. So that's why I say comfort wants you dead, and it's easy to be comfortable, but you have to choose your hard, dude. It's hard to be older like I am and overweight, out of shape, but it's also hard to work out, right? It's hard to
Mm,
struggle paycheck to paycheck. It's also hard to save a little bit of money. You have to choose what's your hard because everything's hard in life, right?
love
So
that.
you got to keep grinding and you got to keep after it. But again, one of these days your body's going to call on you to help you, for you
Yep.
to help. And are you going to get caught lacking? No. So
Right.
it's kind of my philosophy as well.
I love that. Choose your heart. Clearly, nothing in life is easy, and it's just a matter of attacking what will benefit you the most. Really, that's really what it
Yeah.
comes down to.
Yeah.
Um, And it's interesting because there are some things people will go through, and maybe because they've been tested so many times before, it's not necessarily hard, if you will, because they've been so seasoned. And it's like, almost another adversity, another challenge. Like, okay, let's get over. Those are those natural problem solvers, right? And they're like, yeah, let's just go after another one.
So, dude, it never gets easy. You just get used to it, right?
Gotcha.
And so, again, like we were just talking, the more you incrementally build up your ability to bounce back and to persevere to overcome, it does get easier every time. You just get used to it. And I tell everybody this too. Oddly, when I was in the Army, we do long ruck marches, and you see people sitting down. Like you can never sit down. You know why? Because you got to get back up. You got to get back up. So take one step at a time and keep grinding because you cannot quit. You can't quit. So you'll be
Yeah.
somewhere else doing something even worse. So you just got to keep grinding. So
I would imagine that the discipline that you get from that Army experience was beneficial to you as well, particularly given that it didn't sound like you had a whole lot of it prior to in your life. I wonder if you can talk about just the impact or even the importance of being disciplined on a somewhat regular basis or regular basis.
dude, you're 100% correct there, right? Everybody says I'm motivated. I'm going to start losing weight. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to learn Spanish, whatever. I'm motivated. Motivation gets you to the first step. In
Okay.
order to succeed, you've got to be disciplined. You've got to be grinding every day, and you got to be focused. One of the things I hate hearing more than anything is I don't have enough time. Well, you have as much time as I do. How about using this language? It's not my priority right now.
Right.
So, what is your priority?
And,
Tell
and
me
at
that.
least at least that's the honest answer, right?
100%. And people say, "Well, I got this, I got that," and most people waste their lives, waste their time, and don't realize it. And it's just one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life. I always tell everybody this too, oddly, is that growing up poor, I've exceeded expectations. I've outkicked my coverage. So, and if I can do it, I'm a C student. If I can do it, anybody can do it. But it comes down to what you just said: motivation versus discipline. You've got to be disciplined to get there. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I started training when I was 47, and there's a saying in Jiu Jitsu is that you're going to be somewhere in 10 years. You're going to be somewhere. Hopefully not dead. But you're going to be somewhere. Why not be a black belt too? You just can't quit. So you're going to be somewhere in 10 years. Why not have your PhD or why not learn the
Sure.
guitar? You're going to do something. But the comfort is a killer, and and one of the biggest time wasters, insidious things that you can ever do is be comfortable.
Got you. Let's talk about getting a black belt. So you started at 47. I'm guessing
Yeah.
there were people half your age that are looking at you like, hey, grandpa, what's up?
Well, every time I go into the gym, I always think to myself, there's no way I'm going to let this young buck kick my tail. And they say, there's no way I'm going to let this old man beat me. So it's always a clash. But with jujitsu, it's mostly about technique than just strength or age. So, you just got to keep learning, keep grinding. But most people don't make it past blue belt.
Hmm,
And only 1% of people make it a black belt. It's very, very hard martial art to master. And I'm not a master by any means, but it's hard to get to that level.
so coming in I'm not going to say the word older, I'm going to say at an advanced age, right? At a show of
Yeah.
respect, at an advanced age coming in, are the experiences that you have just general in life, did that help at all in any way?
Yeah, 100%, dude. I wish that we all say this. I wish I had this body of knowledge when I was much younger. And frankly, I didn't have a male role model. Right. So my
Mm,
son has this, and he's much more advanced than I am because of that. But yeah, dude, being older a little bit, your body starts breaking down, but you get a level of confidence that from if you would do hard things, you get a level of confidence that carries you through, and people are very attracted to that, both men and women. So you got to make sure that you're not too arrogant about it, but having all these experiences, going through rough stuff, gives you the confidence that you can do it again, like you and I just talked about.
yeah. And And I love that conversation about confidence and what it can do for you moving forward, right? Because the more you and this goes back for me like why it's so important that we're audacious enough to try things, right? Because
Yeah,
you try something, there's one or two options. You'll be successful or you won't. We know what being successful, that's easy. You got what you want, we're good. But let's talk about when you're not successful, right? Many will call that failing. Well, if you've walked away with a lesson of how to do something better, then you haven't really failed. I think the failure comes in when you do something, you're not successful and taking nothing away from the experience.
exactly. It's
Right?
just somebody else's fault. Well, we have a saying in jiu-jitsu that says either you win or you learn, right?
Mm,
A lot. But yeah, you're right, dude. Is and we also have a saying generally says that failure is not fatal, and success is not guaranteed, right? So failure is not a bad thing if you learn from it, like you said, but you've got to learn from it, and you
mm,
got to really take ownership of your own destiny. So if I'm doing something and I fail, it's not your fault.
right,
It's not the government's fault. It's not the bank's fault. It's my fault. Right
right.
now, how I have done things differently. And if you use that perspective, then you own the transaction. You can control it. So
Gotcha. It sounds like jujitsu has formed a lot of sort of your approach on life is appears. Is that thing?
it's actually refined it for sure.
Ah,
I was in the military for 15 years, and that really gave me a PhD on leadership. But then again, jiu-jitsu really it's a very very hard sport, and if you get to that level, then you've actually put time in, but you've got to love it as well. But again, uh, either you win or you learn, and if you're not learning, then there's a big problem.
got you. What was it? What drew you to jujitsu? Something you always wanted to do? Did you lose a bet? Like what got you there?
Well, my son started before I did, and so I've always wanted to do it. He started
Okay.
before I did, and he loved it. And then we trained together for a long time. And but again, oddly, to get to that level, you've got to love it. Is if
Mm,
it's I mean I would go home cursing my professor out and mad as all get go. But then again, I thought to myself, well, he was right. But again, you've got to love it, and fortunately, I did, and it has formed a lot of my thinking about problem solving because when you have a 200-pound man laying on your chest. You're not thinking about your wife. You're not thinking about work. You're not thinking about the dog, right, or your bills. All you're thinking of is how can I get this man off of me, right?
right,
So
right,
it
right.
helps you focus, prioritize and execute.
And that certainly can be some great life lessons, no question about that. And
Yeah,
just hearing, if you think about it, you been able to be fortunate enough to be in some really solid disciplines. You look at the army experience, and now
yeah,
you match that with jujitsu.
yeah,
From a focus, from an adversity standpoint, we talked a little bit about grit and how important that is.
yep,
But that's really started to help set you up a little bit. It sounds like.
exactly, dude. And when the way I look at life is, and there's certain things I can't do. I'll never be in the NBA or I'll never be a quarterback in the NFL, right? But my whole thing is, if you can do it, why can't I do it?
Mm,
If it's been done before Roger Bannister broke the 4 minute mile, nobody thought that could be done. But
right.
like the past 5 years after that, everybody was running sub 400, right? Once it was proven it could be done, everybody
Right.
did it. So
Right. Well, and what that also does, I think it's a really good example. But what that also does, it gives someone something attainable to see what's feasible now, right?
dude, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
mean, uh, one of those things we struggle with, especially in poor families and poor areas, is that we don't have those role models to say who why would I have any expectation that I can do this? Well, because people have done it all the time.
Yes.
And so, dude, when I was in the army, I was driving up to the North Slope of Alaska hunting with a buddy of mine. He was a captain, and I was
Okay.
a sergeant, and I was complaining. You captains make more money. We do all the work. Blah blah blah. He said, Lloyd, I was an E4, so a specialist, and I decided to go to medical to get my degree, and so I changed my life. You can do that too, or you can shut up, right?
Mm.
But nobody's stopping you. It's not us, it's you, and that was very very profound to me. So uh, again, anybody can do it. You just got to shut up and do it.
Right, right,
So
right.
the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Yep,
You
for
just got to take
sure.
it. And if you fail, reset and start again.
Yep. And
You know.
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And you mentioned role models, and I think that's a really, really good, excellent segue into the discussion of leadership. And that sort of seemed that an area that you've also sort of focused on. So perhaps maybe you can help us understand how you got this. You went from the army, you finished the army, and you started working in the leadership space. What did that look like?
So when you're in the military, and especially in the army, you're taught day one to lead, right? And you're given strict guidelines on leadership. And a lot of times it's just forceful leadership. Hey, you will do it because I outrank you. But it also talks about how to manipulate and lead people from a more organic level. So I took that and just applied that to my civilian career as well. So I pride myself on being a good leader, and a good leader is not about telling people what to do. It's about influencing them to do what you want them to do in an appropriate manner by giving them the tools and technology and the training to get it done. And everything to me, oddly, is an exercise in leadership. Everything is an exercise in leadership, and it just depends on how you apply it. And of course, certain types of leadership is different in certain situations. Like if you're trying to storm a hill and you tell somebody to charge a machine gun, there's not a lot of room for influence. You just got to get it done. But
Right.
in our corporate world, that doesn't work. So you got to find out the motivation, really tell the why and why you're doing something, and really be very thoughtful explaining to how it benefits the individual and the overall goal and mission of the company.
Got you. Got you. And so the work that you do, you're a coach, or what do you do exactly? You
So,
should
so
coach.
I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a I'm a I'm a co- I'm a professional consultant. I work for a small company, small boutique consulting firm, but I also run my own executive coaching business as well. And in that, I talk to people, who are struggling with, HR matters. Like, Lloyd, this person's not showing up for work, simple stuff like that, or
Yeah.
even business strategy is, I'm trying to raise capital. How do I do that? Do you have a business plan? Do you have performance? Things of that nature. You have collateral. So I advise them on small business operations as well.
Got you. Got you. And then at some point, you found time to write a book. Um, it's straight out of the trailer park.
Exactly.
Very fitting.
Yeah. And I'm getting into public speaking and trying to share my message. You had to have a bona fides. Why Lloyd? Why you listen to this knucklehead? Well, here's my story. So that's what it's for. I wrote it for that reason, but I've got so much joy, so much feedback out of this book that I have three more in the hopper I'm writing now.
Wow.
My biography tied up around stories of resilience and how to overcome. But yeah, I found so much joy out of it, dude. So I really try to maximize my time. If I watch a football game, I feel like a piece of crap afterwards. I love pro ball, but like, man, you just wasted 2.5 hours of your life. But you need that. That's just my mentality. People do need that, but I just try to squeeze as much juice out of the lemon as I can, because again, oddly, I have a lot more sand in the bottom of the hourglass than I do the top, right?
Sure.
So I got to get it done, dude.
Sure, sure, sure. Well, what I love about that is that mentality of always kind of looking for that next challenge, right? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
stop; it keeps going. We've got, or I've developed this framework called the BOLD framework, and really it's about this BOLD framework will help individuals live their best audacious life ever. And BOLD is an acronym, right?
Yeah.
And the first B is maybe something you would appreciate. It stands for better than yesterday. Right. And so you absolutely it's great that you climbed that mountain. That's great that you made that achievement. That's great that, in grade 5, you won your little league championship. What's tomorrow or the day after? So it's always looking to outdo what you did yesterday. And so that would resonate with you. I'd imagine the O in that framework is outlast adversity. Again, something you could probably appreciate,
Oh,
because
yeah.
challenges are always going to come. And really, when we can get past those, that's where all the great stuff lies, on the other side of adversity. The L stands for live your truth, and is really encouraging people to be authentic and true to who they are. If you weren't being true to yourself, you wouldn't find the path that you're on. You'd be living someone else's story or someone else's version of what your life is. And then finally, the D is to disrupt the norm. It's really being a trailblazer, doing your own thing. I oftentimes use the example of the Wright brothers learning how to, building a plane. Like, I'm sure the crowd gathered around them thought they were crazy out of their minds and complete lunatics for trying to fly. But despite that, they did that anyways. And so those elements very much make up this bold framework that we encourage and we promote. And through your story, I heard all of that without question. And so I thought
Well,
I'd
dude,
share.
you mentioned my Wright brothers. It's been about 65 years since they first flew till we went to the moon. So it just shows you that if you stand on the shoulders of giants, you can achieve great things. But the bold one, dude, I tell the B and the bold, I tell everybody this. Everybody is that if you do a little bit better than did yesterday, you'll be
Yes.
better today. You might not be where Audley or Lloyd is, but you'll be better than you were yesterday. So I always look to incrementally get better. That's one of
Yes.
the things I say as well. 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing when we talk about looking what Audley or Lloyd's doing. At the end of the day, Audley and Lloyd are on their path as you should be with yours. And
Yeah.
and this audacious life that we promote and encourage here isn't copy cutter of everyone else's. It's individualized. It's your own path, and on your path, you're gonna have your own challenges. You're gonna have your own failures. You're gonna have whatever your adversity is that's uniquely designed for you, right? And that's really what we're talking about here.
I have a buddy of mine who had a idyllic life in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I mean, Norman Rockwell painting life, and he took his wife and his kids, bought a 45-foot catamaran, quit his job, and sailed around the Caribbean for who knows how long. But he really told me and really drove home that he's much younger than I, but he drove home that there are no rules, dude. So for 90% of America, being the cog in the wheel is good. And it's good for everybody. It runs our economy. It keeps everything going, keeps the lights on. But for that little 5% margin who can work outside of that, there are no rules. You can do whatever you want, brother. Now,
Yeah,
that realization comes from being much older like I am. But again, do whatever you want. There's money in the street right now. Just go pick it up. Go get it. Just find
yeah.
a way to go get it.
Yeah, no, and I do agree with you. I think it's 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 always about that first step, right? And oftentimes that first step is blocked with fears, doubts, uncertainty, suspicions, other people's failures, other people's discouragements, and what's even funny about the other people. Oftentimes they mean the best for us. The other people are coming from our loved ones or family, people that care for us, and they're the ones that are still discouraging us. They don't want us to experience what they feel is hurt, pain, or failure. But there's so much that comes from that we almost got to just embrace it.
Dude, life happens on the other side of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I use that too, fun. And by the way, you brought up a really good comment about relatives and close friends.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like crabs in a bucket, dude. All they want to do is pull you down, right?
Yes.
Because you're a mirror, you're a reflection of their failures. And I try not to be. And we have some, so you run into some people like that every now and then who you can just tell are haters. But it's because you're a reflection of where they could have been. And it's unfortunate. But again, don't be better than Lloyd. Don't be better than Audley. Be better than you were yesterday. It's an amazing, amazing. Once you get that mindset and mentality freed, you're free. You're
Yeah.
free. So still got to pay the bills, but
Sure. No, no. You'll find a way to do that too. It'll all work out. So
it
yeah.
will, dude. You and I and everybody listening to this podcast are 100% successful in overcoming every change that ever happened in our lives.
That's
We're
right. That's right.
100% successful.
That's right.
So,
That's
so,
right.
so
Well,
embrace it.
and I think what happens is when you're going through adversity every day and you don't stop to sort of give yourself credit, you forget, right? That this you forget how hard something was because you overcame it and you moved on to the next challenge because life is a kind of a succession of challenges one after the next. But if we stop and go, something, like that thing I was dealing with, it was hard. And man, I smoked it, right? And imagine what that does in terms of creating momentum onto the next one. I think of a snowball, right? As it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you're this unstoppable force. And so much can be said just giving ourselves just a little bit of credit.
Dude, I tell everybody, and Audley, you and I are very like-minded in this. I tell everybody, if you're feeling down about your career, write your resume, write it out,
Mm,
or type it out. Because what you're doing is you're listing a set of accomplishments.
yeah,
And if you have those accomplishments, you can do something else.
yeah,
But write your resume. Don't write down the bad stuff's happening to you, but write your resume and then reflect on the successes that you've had.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah, so you can restart that engine, go again, rebuild them.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is awesome, Lloyd. This has
Yeah,
been a great
Donnie,
chat.
I also tell everybody two
Yeah,
things as well. I
yeah.
said, as long as you don't take a life or create a life, you can bounce back from anything,
Mm,
anything, so, you know,
nice.
try to be careful of those two. But, other than that, you can do whatever you want.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Lloyd, this has been awesome. Super appreciate the insights and sharing. For our listeners who want to learn more about you or catch up with you, where can we send them?
Pardon me?
Where can we send our listeners if they wanted to connect with you?
Okay, so I have a website called KenaiBusinessSolutions.com. That's KEN E KENIA businesssolutions.com. Or reach out to me at thismayoffendyou.com, or you can go to Amazon if you want to buy my book. Just use this. Make sure you find the one L, because there's only one L in my name. And I think you'll find it very, very helpful. And if any of your listeners want to buy it and send me an email, then I will autograph it for them and send it back.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, look,
Yeah.
this is just so awesome. Again, I love the insights. I love the approach, and I appreciate you sharing your story. All the best, Lloyd. This has been great.
Oddly, this has been very, very enjoyable. Like I said, there's nothing more pleasuring to me to hear myself talk and pontificate. But dude, I think that we have a lot of same things in common. I love your message. I love your podcast.
Thank
I
you.
recommend everybody who's listening, and of course I'll repost this, to listen to your podcast
Thank
on a
you.
regular basis, because you're driving the message home that every man needs to hear. You're doing God's work, brother. I appreciate you
Thank
having me on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Lloyd, all the best and be well, my friend.
All right, thank you.
Back, we are here on the podcast. In our chat with Lloyd, we learned that the key to success lies in challenging oneself and embracing failures as stepping stones to growth, by taking incremental steps towards improvement and staying resilient in the face of adversity. We can build a foundation for a fulfilling and audacious life. I'd encourage you to connect with Lloyd directly through his website, or he's got actually two sites, and we're going to make sure that both of them are listed in the contact details below. He's got offers personalized coaching and guidance, and I'd encourage you to take advantage of his expertise to unlock your potential and embark on your own audacious living journey. Be sure to also check out his book, Straight Out of the Trailer Park, for valuable insights and lessons on resilience and personal growth. By purchasing the book, you'll gain even more tools to navigate life's challenges with confidence. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Audacious Living Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, or share if you haven't already done so, because of course that's how this podcast grows and allows us to inspire even more people on their audacious living paths. Remember, the journey to greatness begins with that single step. Be audacious and be brave and live your best life. Until next time, stay inspired and keep reaching for the stars, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.